Hi everybody, and welcome back to another online Shrine Time story time. My name is Miss Ryle, the librarian at Shrine School, back with another story this week. And today we are celebrating Poetry Month. April is Poetry Month, and today is the last day of April, so I wanted to make sure we got to read some poems together. So we're actually not reading a full story today. We are going to be reading a collection of poems, and the title of this collection is called When Green Becomes Tomatoes, Poems for All Seasons by Julie Fogliano and pictures by Julie Morstad. I am reading this with permission from MacMillan publishers, who are generously letting teachers, librarians, and educators read their stories to their students while we can't be meeting in person. So a big thank you to them. And if you would like to purchase a copy of this book today, I'm going to put links down in the video description, so check there, to local booksellers and other bookstores where you can purchase a copy for your own library. So let's talk about poetry before we get started. Poetry is a little bit different than stories like we've been reading the past few weeks, because the stories we've been reading the past few weeks have lots of characters, lots of plot, lots of story in them. Well, poems are short pieces of writing. They are written in verse, kind of like a song. A lot of them have rhyme and rhythm, although they don't have to, because the form of a poem is left up to the poet to decide how they want to write their poem. So poems can be lots of different things, but they always try to get across some type of message. So the poems we're reading today are going to teach us all about spring. The poems in this book have poems for spring, fall, winter, and summer. But since it's spring outside, I'm bringing you to my backyard so that we can read these poems in the nice weather and hear poems about what you might see and experience during springtime. So let's get started. The first poem is called March 20th. From a snow-covered tree, one bird singing, each tweet poking a tiny hole through the edge of winter and landing carefully, balancing gently on the tip of spring. March 22nd, just like a tiny blue hello, a crocus blooming in the snow. If you listen to this video, you might be able to hear some of the sounds of spring that we're going to be talking about in some of these poems. Listen for birds chirping. You might see some birds fly by. You hear the wind. You see the flowers. Yes. The next poem is called March 24th. What the snow left behind was a red scarf next to a wooden carrot, one blue mitten, a big snow shovel, a little snow shovel, and mud and mud and mud and more mud and muddy mud and mud. So what did that poem tell us? That told us that during spring we get lots of mud, because what happened right before spring was winter, and it might have snowed, and now the snow is melting away so that the flowers can start blooming. March 26th. Shivering and huddled close, the forever rushing daffodils wished they had waited. So that poem reminds us that sometimes flowers like daffodils, they might bloom a little early, and it might still be a little cold out for them. April 3rd. Today the sky was too busy sulking to rain, and the sun was exhausted from trying. And everyone, it seemed, had decided to wear their sadness on the outside, and even the birds and all their singing sounded broken-hearted inside all that gray. So sometimes during spring, it's very dreary outside, because it might look like it's going to rain, but you might never see the rain that day. April 12th. Rain makes frogs hop in a hurry. April 23rd. There are things that are yellow and new and popping up everywhere. And there are red rubber boots with the mud on the inside and maybe a frog. And everything is squishing and everyone is soggy. But the sometimes sun is just enough for a robin. April 27th. Today, under a magnolia tree, I ran into a dachshund named Paul. He was very much a sausage, with paws and a nose. Poor Paul, if only he would look up for a second and notice the magnolias with their pink and their white and their gentle flutters. He would soon realize that it's not so bad to be a dog tied to a tree in the shade when it's springtime and fluttering. May 6th. Everywhere is chirping, and now there is purple. May 10th. Lilac sniffing is what to do with a nose when it is May and there are lilacs to be sniffed. So those couple of poems reminded us that during the springtime, we might see lots of pretty colors like purple lilacs, and we might smell lots of beautiful smelling flowers like roses and lilacs too. May 20th. Enough already, I whispered to the clouds, just loud enough for the sun to overhear, but not enough to wake the rain. The strawberries are furious, and I think I just heard even the roses sigh. June 10th. I don't know much about flowers. I don't know their names or how they like to grow in sun or shade, in morning or night. I don't know where they began or how they traveled, by boat or by bird, and whether or not the rain makes them shiver or bloom. But I know how they lean and bend toward the light, wide open as if singing, their voices silent but everywhere. Fill up the daytime, a song much more than purple, and beyond every red, a song that makes me stop and listen and forget and not care at all that I don't know much about flowers. I like that poem a lot because it reminds us that we don't have to know how flowers grow. We don't have to know where they came from. We don't have to know what their names are to sit outside and enjoy the beauty of spring around us. June 15th. You can taste the sunshine and the buzzing and the breeze while eating berries off the bush on berry hands and berry knees. Okay, those were all of the spring poems from that collection. So if you want, you can check out this book and read the rest of the poems about summer, winter, and fall. And I really hope you liked those poems and enjoyed something a little bit different today, being outside and enjoying some poetry to celebrate Poetry Month. Go online and find some more poems to read together with your family. And I'll see you next week, and it's time to say goodbye, friends, goodbye, friends, goodbye, friends. It's time to say goodbye, and I'll see you next week.